Got something right there. Yeah. Ooh, that's.
Oh.
Is it a trout?
I think it might be a pike, but it's
no
decent.
way. A pike in here? Is it a big trout?
Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay.
It's pulling. They're still in 15 feet of water.
Oh my god. It's big, like the one we saw last time. Like, I don't think I can net it.
It's got some flex to it. Watch that.
I'm sorry.
Oh god, that's a huge fish. Not even here 5 minutes. I was gonna it's a big brown trout. It's a big brown. I'm gonna get a little bit deeper water. This is a big fish. That net ain't gonna work. So what we're doing right now, going out here for Splake, they're a hybrid between a lake trout and a brown trout. I mean a brook trout. Oh, that's a nice fish. That is a nice fish.
It'll work.
Anyway, that's what we're out here for, and I just got distracted by this big brown trout here. You think that's gonna work?
Yeah. Bring it over this way. Oh, right there.
Oh, there it is, right there.
Oh my god!
Here, trade me. Oh, that's a nice brown. That is not what we were going for, but I will take it, especially for a first fish. Wet my palms real quick. Oh, that's a nice fish. That's a jaw stuck in there. So, got a little distracted here. See, right now, like usually I would be chasing after smallmouth, but this year I decided, you know, after a few bad smallmouth days, I decided I don't want to reach my hand. I decided to start chasing trout, just because. Oh wow, that's tough in there. It's a nice fish. There we go. I can see how long he is here and release him. He is 20 inches. He took off real quick. So what I was saying before, I meant to shoot the intro, then I got hit up with that big brown. Right there, that's what it is. It's just a Z-Man tubes. They're like 3 to 3.5 inches, and it has I have a lighter weight head on there, a 1/15 ounce head that they make. It's a little bit different head. It has like a kind of aggressive metal hook bait keeper on there. And what that does is, seeing all this stuff is so stretchy, it just wraps right around that, and that bait never comes off. So a lot of times we use minnows. Like that's kind of what I'm imitating here is a minnow. I don't have to re-rig minnows, like live minnows all the time. I don't have to worry about casting them off, all that kind of good stuff. I've literally never had to re-rig that bait for dozens of fish. Trout, pike, bass, bluegill, whatever. So what I'm doing, I'm just casting out there. And it has a pretty moderate fall. It's not a super fast fall just because it's a lighter head on there. And the bait's actually buoyant a little bit. So it just looks like a lot of times in the fall, like especially when it cools off like real quick like it has been, a lot of those smaller bait fish will die off in the shallow water. So as they're dying off, they're just going to be kicking like the little last bit of life. That's what I'm imitating right now, just snapping up off the bottom. Like that brown trout, that came in like, I don't know, 7 feet of water or so. I was sitting in like 15 and I cast up shallower. And all I'm doing is just looking on the bottom. This lake's pretty featureless. It has some little spots of weeds, but for the most part it drops off fairly quick. If I see something on the graph that's like a little bit harder or whatever, then I'll just jig right down there because they're pretty aggressive. Like I said, brown trout as well. I forgot to mention that earlier. Brown trout spawn in the fall time as well, so they're all looking to do the same thing. Just feed up before the fall, a lot like bass, bluegill, or other types of fish. another thing I should mention is that it's really shallow. I mean, it's really clear water, so those fish, they're sight feeding, so they're looking around. They can see that bait twitching around. They're not really sensing it like with their lateral line, stuff like that, like they would in darker water. And the rod I'm using, I got it paired up on that that Phoenix Mirage. It's a pretty moderate rod. I found that I like a little bit softer rod just for those bigger fish, because I'm using 4-pound fluorocarbon line. So if I had a little bit stiffer rod, like my Legend Elite, for example, the finesse rod that I have, I'd use a little bit heavier fluorocarbon, like 7-pound fluorocarbon. But I find that the softer bend, it helps a lot with the bigger fish right next to the boat. And that lighter line allows the bait to be as natural dropping as possible. So what I do a lot of times, I just cast it out there and I just let it sit. It's open, most part it's open water, deep, so I just let it, not super loose line though, like with the fluorocarbon I can feel a little bit better on loose line. I just let that thing drop, it'll pendulum down a little bit, and then once my line kind of goes limp, I know I hit the bottom, I just give it a couple pulls up off the bottom, almost like it's a dying bait fish. And these fish are active, so I'm not worried about trying to coax them in. I'm just a couple little twitches, let it sit there, a couple twitches. And the Splake will school up pretty good. So if you feel a hit and you miss it, you just wait, and then another one's probably gonna hit. And a lot like smallmouth, they hang out about the same size. So if you're catching like some 18 inchers, chances are you got, you know, maybe a couple bigger, a couple smaller, but they're all gonna be around that same size. So if you're really trying to chase trophies, you're gonna want to just move on to the next school. Ooh, I just had one right there. My line got tangled. Oh, it's right there. You got it. Oh, come on. There's one that's great. Oh, it just swiped again. Got it right there. That's a Splake this time. Okay. A smaller one. But still, I'll be able to show you guys, if you haven't seen what a Splake is, what they look like. Like it. I always wet my hand before touching trout too. It helps with their little protective slime that they got going on there. It's their immune system. There we go. That's what they look like. I have pictures on Instagram as well. If they're speckled like a brook trout, their tail's slightly forked. So lake trout's gonna have a really forked tail. Brook trout's gonna have pretty much a square tail. Splake's in the middle. Has the white tips on the fins like that. That's what their face looks like. So that's the difference between, if you're trying to identify them in the water. They look mainly like a brook trout. Just how they have the spots and like their shape, their general shape, and like how their fins have the tips on there. They're orange. Lake trout are a little bit different. If you're catching most of them inland, they're thinner than them huge Lake Superior ones that you often see pictures about. But your lake trout's gonna have a more forked tail than the Splake. It's gonna be noticeably forked. I call it Splake is just barely forked. And it's not gonna be as colorful or have as like pretty of a color scheme to it. So it's smaller than average. Usually average, this lake run about 15 to 17 inches or so. There are bigger ones out there, but 15 is the limit as well. Like if you're trying to keep them, you gotta be 15 inches out of this body of water. In most bodies of water where there's Splake or managed inland. Yeah, that one I felt a little nibble. Then I looked back and I saw it swim away with my lure. So I just waited, and I set the hook, but I didn't have it all the way in its mouth. So I did it again, and then that's when it came back. So they're not super spooky like some of the other trout are. Wouldn't be surprised to catch a couple smallmouth through here, maybe largemouth. Oh, got hit right here. Oh, what is it? A little smallmouth. Look at that, one for the books there. See, all it is now is just boom, ready to fish again. I don't have to mess around with minnows. I don't have to worry about small fish stealing my bait. Those are, ooh, wow, what's that? Might be a bunch of fish chasing down there. It's been a little less eventful than I'd like today. Did catch that really nice brown trout, but make sure you subscribe. It means a lot, and also follow me on Instagram as well. That's where I post there more frequently, and you kind of get a little bit of a teaser about what's going to be coming up on YouTube, because I'll be posting pictures on there. So that's the best way to keep up to date. Also, make sure you comment below any questions you have, trout fishing, bait finesse fishing, whatever it is, and then I can compile those into a Q&A video. I'll answer it on the comment, but I'll also use that as ammunition for a Q&A video. So thanks for watching. Make sure you hit the subscribe button.